I don't usually post much online, but lately I've found myself thinking a lot about how relationships grow, how they settle, and what they become after the excitement fades. My wife, Natalie, and I have been together for over a decade now, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the quiet years can be just as meaningful as the early ones. We met when I was 27, and she was 25. I was a couple years into my IT job at a mid-sized firm downtown, and she was working at a small publishing house, editing manuscripts and dreaming about one day starting her own imprint. We met at a dinner party hosted by one of her college friends, who also happened to be dating a guy I worked with. It was one of those nights that wasn't supposed to be anything special, just drinks, takeout, a board game or two. But I remember she walked in wearing this deep green sweater, hair still wet from the rain, and she looked like she belonged in a story herself. We ended up on the same team during a game of charades. Her competitive streak was immediate, and I couldn't stop smiling. By the end of the night, I'd offered to drive her home. We sat in her driveway talking for nearly an hour. After that, we were pretty much inseparable. We got married 3 years later, nothing over the top, just a small ceremony in a botanical garden outside the city. I still remember the way she gripped my hand before we walked back up the aisle together, like she was pulling me into something we were going to build from scratch. We've lived in the same house for the past 9 years, a 2-story colonial with creaky floors, too many bookshelves, and a backyard where our daughter, Lily, spends most of her time. She's 11 now, somehow both quiet and fiercely curious. She gets that from Natalie, always watching, always listening, like she's collecting the world in little pieces. Our routine is steady. I head to work early most days, and Natalie works from home. She still edits manuscripts, freelancing now, and occasionally takes on more ambitious projects when her schedule allows. She handles school drop-off in the mornings. I do pick up in the afternoons. Dinner is usually a shared effort. She's better with recipes. I'm better at timing. After Lily goes to bed, we'll watch something together or just read with our feet tangled up on the couch. We don't always talk, but there's a comfort in that. A kind of silence you grow into after years of living beside someone. Natalie is the kind of person who remembers everyone's birthday without needing to write it down. She's the one who organizes care packages when a neighbor's sick or volunteers at Lily's school when they need extra help. People like her. They always have. I've always admired the way she moves through the world, warm, calm, effortlessly competent. If someone asked me to describe our marriage, I'd probably say it's quiet in the best way. No drama. No chaos. Just a life we've built together, one morning coffee and shared chore at a time. It's not perfect. No life is. But it feels steady, real, and I'm proud of what we've made. If someone had told me 10 years ago what daily life would look like now, I probably would have thought it sounded boring. But there's something about the stability of routine, the rhythm of knowing and being known, that feels more rewarding than any of the big, loud phases we went through in our 20s. Natalie and I live a pretty balanced life. We don't chase trends or spend our weekends doing anything especially exciting. But we do have our rituals, and I've grown to love them. Saturdays are always grocery and errand days. She has this color-coded list she swears by, and I do the heavy lifting while she scans for sales and insists we try a new sauce or snack. We usually grab lunch at the same cafe afterward. They know us there, and we always split a turkey club and a pot of black tea. Sundays are slower. Pancakes if Lily requests them, which she often does. Natalie plays music while she cooks, usually old singer-songwriter stuff from when we were dating. I'll clean up. Lily will set the table, and we'll all sit down like we're in one of those commercials where nobody's arguing and the pancakes are always golden. Natalie's still sharp when it comes to her work. I've watched her pour herself into manuscripts that would make my eyes glaze over, and she always finds the thread, what makes a story work, what's missing. She edits with a red pen and a cup of mint tea, and she always reads a little bit out loud, just to make sure it flows. She's in her element when she's buried in someone else's story, coaxing it into something stronger. And Lily, she's at the age where every day feels like she's halfway between a little kid and someone older. She has Natalie's eyes and my dry sense of humor, and she can talk for an hour straight about the books she's reading. Natalie does most of the bedtime reading still, and I sit on the edge of the bed and listen to them both. It's become our nightly routine, and I think I look forward to it more than either of them knows. Our marriage, at this stage, feels less like a constant exchange and more like a shared quiet. We don't have to fill every moment with conversation. We just exist near each other in ways that feel safe. Some nights, we'll sit on the couch and read or watch something low-key, and other times she'll be working while I'm finishing up things from my job. It's calm. And after everything we navigated in the early years, new jobs, new baby, a fixer-upper house, it feels like we earned this part. We're not flashy. We don't overshare. But we work. There's trust. There's care. There's a history layered into every drawer, every routine, every inside joke we've recycled a dozen times. To anyone else, our life might look quiet. But to me, it feels like home. Every now and then, I catch myself looking around our home and thinking, we did this. Not in some grand, chest-puffed-out kind of way, more like a quiet acknowledgement that the years we put in weren't just passing time. They built something. The walls in the hallway still have faint pencil marks from when Lily insisted we measure her height every other week when she was 5. Natalie never painted over them. Said they were a living record. Our fridge is cluttered with magnets from vacations, one from a lake cabin trip we took in 2017, another from a spontaneous beach weekend that got rained out, but still ended with us laughing in soaked clothes, eating ice cream in the car. There's even a magnet Lily made in art class with a crooked heart and stick figure drawings of the three of us. It's been crooked on purpose ever since. I think a lot about what makes a marriage last. For us, I always believed it came down to respect. Not just the big gestures, but the daily ones. Refilling the kettle without being asked. Taking Lily to her dentist appointment because the manuscript Natalie's editing is on deadline. Letting each other vent without always trying to solve anything. That kind of care, the kind you don't perform, just give, it adds up. Natalie's always been someone people are drawn to. Friends have called her magnetic. She's the kind of person who remembers your dog's name, asks thoughtful questions, and follows up later because she genuinely cares. I've seen her light up a room, but she always came home and softened around the edges in a way that was just for me. I never felt like I had to compete for her attention. I always believed we understood each other in a way that didn't need a lot of words. We've had our tough patches, sure. Stress over finances in the early years, juggling work and parenting, the occasional argument about discipline or family obligations. But nothing ever felt like it cracked us. If anything, those moments made us stronger. Gave us more faith in what we were building. Natalie always said we were good co-captains. I like that. Lately, things have been steady, comfortable. Lily's getting older, more independent. Natalie's workload is consistent, and mine's manageable. We've even started talking about taking a longer vacation next summer, just the three of us. Somewhere quiet. Maybe the mountains again. Somewhere we can unplug and just be together. I don't have some dramatic turning point to share. Not yet. If you'd asked me a week ago what I thought about my marriage, I would have said I was lucky. That we were in a good place. Not perfect, but solid. Rooted. I believed we were still growing in the same direction. And up until recently, I had no reason to question any of that. It started with a conversation over dinner, one of those low-key evenings when Lily was at a sleepover, and we finally had the house to ourselves. I'd made pasta, she opened a bottle of wine, and we were catching up on things we hadn't had time to talk about during the week. Work, Lily's latest obsession with space documentaries, whether or not we needed to finally fix the leaky faucet in the upstairs bathroom. It felt like a normal night. Until she looked at me and said, almost casually, "Have you ever thought about an open relationship?" I actually laughed. Not because I thought she was joking, but because it was so far out of the realm of what I'd expected to hear. I didn't know how else to react. I said something like, "What do you mean?" Like hypothetically? But she didn't smile. She just looked at me calm, composed, like we were discussing weekend plans. "I've been reading about it," she said. "A lot of couples are doing it. They say it strengthens communication, helps you grow individually and together." I sat there, trying to figure out where this was coming from. We hadn't had any major issues. No recent fights. No long-standing resentments that I knew of. Our intimacy hadn't exactly been fiery lately, but that felt normal to me after more than a decade together. I asked her if something was wrong, if she felt unfulfilled. She said no. "I love you. I'm happy. I just think we're at a point in our lives where we can handle being more expansive." Expansive. That was the word she used. I told her no. I wasn't angry. I didn't raise my voice. I just said I wasn't interested in opening up our marriage to other people. I said that the kind of relationship we'd built, everything we'd worked through, everything we'd raised together, was built on trust, exclusivity, and the quiet comfort of knowing we were each other's home base. She nodded, sipped her wine, and said she understood. She didn't push. She didn't argue. If anything, she seemed almost indifferent, Like my refusal was one possible outcome she'd already considered and accepted. We finished dinner. She cleaned the plates. I sat in the living room afterward trying to make sense of what had just happened. The next few days, things were fine. On the surface, she acted normal, affectionate even. She kissed me goodbye in the morning, texted during the day like usual, asked about my meetings, folded my laundry. But something in me had shifted. Not suspicion, exactly. Just an uneasiness I couldn't name. Like I just stepped onto a path I didn't know I was walking, and suddenly the ground felt different beneath me. We didn't bring it up again. She didn't ask. I didn't revisit it. But I started noticing her spending more time alone. More nights on her phone, scrolling or texting with someone she didn't name. I told myself I was overthinking it. That she was just processing the conversation in her own way. That everything was still okay. Because that's what you do, right? You trust your partner. Even when something feels just slightly off. It's a strange thing, how someone you've known for over a decade can start to feel unfamiliar in the smallest, most ordinary ways. I wouldn't even say I'm suspicious at this point. That's too strong a word. It's more like I've started noticing things. Not big things. Just a collection of quiet details that, when added together, don't quite make sense. Since that dinner where she brought up the idea of an open relationship, Natalie's been acting, well, different. On the surface, everything looks fine. She still texts me reminders about dentist appointments. Still throws in a random "love you" during the day. Still laughs at Lily's jokes and reads with her at night. But there's something missing. Something subtle and hard to explain. She's been going out more. Not a lot, not enough to set off any alarms, but more than usual. Usually on the nights when Lily is at dance class or a friend's house. She'll say she needs to clear her head, or that she's meeting a friend for a drink, and she always says it casually, like it's nothing. And maybe it is. I want to believe it is. But for some reason, I've started checking the clock when she leaves. And again when she comes back. Last Thursday, she said she was meeting an old coworker downtown, someone from her publishing days. I didn't ask who. I probably should have. But I just nodded, told her to enjoy herself. When she came home 3 hours later, she was quiet. Not upset, not distant, just quiet in a way that made it feel like she'd been somewhere emotionally separate. Like she was still carrying someone else's energy in with her. It's not just the going out, either. It's her phone. She used to leave it face up on the kitchen counter, on silent or vibrate, never more than an arm's reach away. Lately, it's always in her hand, or flipped screen down, or stuffed in her back pocket. The other night, I walked into the bedroom just as she was finishing a text. She tilted the screen ever so slightly away from me, not obvious, not defensive, just instinctive. That bothered me more than I want to admit. She says she's just processing things, that she's been feeling restless. I get that. We've been in the same routines for a long time. Marriage has its slow seasons. But I can't help but feel like she's moving through the house differently, quieter, more careful. Like there's something she doesn't want me to see, but she's not ready to hide it completely. I haven't said anything. I don't want to read too much into it. I've always believed that if you go looking for problems, you'll find them, even if they're not really there. And I trust Natalie. I always have. But sometimes I catch her looking out the window at nothing, or checking her reflection in the hall mirror before she leaves, and something inside me shifts. Not because I know anything. I don't. But I'm starting to wonder if there's something I've missed. It's the little things I notice now. The gaps. The pauses. The way Natalie takes a little longer to answer questions she used to breeze through. When I ask how her day was, she offers the same kind of answers she always has: busy, fine, nothing special, but they land differently now. Like she's rehearsed them. Like she's making sure to sound casual instead of just being it. We've been spending less time together lately. At first, I thought it was just the usual demands of work and parenting, those weeks where everything feels like a blur of to-do lists and logistics. But even in the quiet moments when we're alone, there's this low, persistent static between us. She scrolls on her phone more. I've caught myself glancing at it now, not out of a desire to invade her privacy, but because it feels like a wall has gone up between us and it hums there, lit up in her palm. She types with that slightly focused look she usually reserves for edits or client emails, but she rarely mentions work anymore when I ask what she's been doing. The answers are vaguer now. Shrugs. Just clearing out inbox stuff. I nod and leave it alone, but something inside me doesn't. Last Friday, she said she was going to a gallery opening. Something one of her design clients invited her to. Nothing big, she said, but I should show up for a bit. She wore a dress I hadn't seen in months. One I remember buying with her on a weekend trip, back when she used to loop her arm around mine in public like we were still dating. She put on perfume before leaving, just a spritz, subtle, but enough to catch me off guard. I didn't say anything, but she noticed me noticing. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, said she wouldn't be out too late. She came home past midnight. I was still awake, though I pretended not to be. I heard her keys jingle, the soft creak of the door, the shuffle of heels on the hardwood. She moved lightly, carefully. Not like someone sneaking around, just measured. She didn't come to bed for another 20 minutes. I stayed still, eyes closed, heart quietly ticking like a metronome. The next morning, she made coffee like nothing had happened. Asked if Lily had eaten breakfast, if I needed anything from the store. Same as always. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had happened, and she had no intention of telling me. I've been trying to talk myself out of this. To remind myself that people grow. That marriages change. That restlessness doesn't always mean betrayal. But the truth is, I'm starting to feel like I'm watching someone I love drift further out to sea, and I'm standing barefoot on the shore, pretending I don't notice the tide pulling at her feet. I haven't asked her where she really goes. I haven't looked through her phone. I haven't followed her or confronted her or accused her of anything, because I'm not sure what would happen if I opened that door. And maybe part of me isn't ready to hear what's behind it. I think the hardest part of all this has been pretending I don't notice. There's no big moment I can point to. No single conversation that shattered things. Just a growing silence between us, one that used to feel companionable and now feels heavy. Natalie and I still share a bed, still sit down to dinner with Lily, still go through the motions of our life together. But it's not the same. I feel it in the way she hugs me, like her arms remember the shape of the gesture, but the meaning behind it has drifted away. She doesn't ask me questions like she used to. That's something I only recently realized. It used to be that if I came home quiet, she'd notice. Ask how my day was, wait for more than a surface-level answer. Now, if I'm quiet, she fills the space with her own stories, some small anecdote about Lily's day or a neighbor's dog, and never circles back to me. I don't think it's on purpose, but it still stings. Last weekend, I asked if she wanted to take a day trip somewhere. Just the two of us. We used to do that before Lily was born. Even after, we'd carve out a Saturday now, and then to drive to a nearby town, grab lunch, walk around. She looked surprised when I brought it up, and said, maybe next month? Things are a little chaotic right now. She didn't explain what was chaotic. I didn't press her. I just nodded. I've been doing a lot of nodding lately. She's been going out again. Another dinner with a friend, another quick stop at a client's house. I asked who the friend was this time, and she blinked like she wasn't expecting the question. Just someone from that parenting group I used to go to, she said. I couldn't remember her ever mentioning a parenting group. I let it go. The next morning, I found a receipt in the pocket of her coat, one I'd picked up from the floor where she'd left it. A bar in a neighborhood we don't go to. Time stamped at 11:42 p.m. 2 drinks. I stared at it longer than I should have, trying to convince myself it didn't mean anything. She could have been out with a friend. She could have had a nightcap after dinner. She could have. Anything. But in that moment, none of the explanations felt right. And still, I didn't ask. Because what would I say? That I found a receipt and it made my stomach drop? That I noticed she never puts her phone on the charger at night anymore, just keeps it next to her on the nightstand, screen down? There's a certain kind of heartbreak that comes before you ever hear the truth. It's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet. It's realizing the person you share a life with is gently pulling their world away from yours, and you don't know why. It's wondering if you missed a step somewhere, or if they simply decided not to tell you where they were going next. I keep telling myself this is a phase, a season, that if I hold on long enough, she'll circle back. She'll talk to me the way she used to, laugh the way she used to, look at me like I'm still hers. But lately, when I look at her, I get the feeling she's already gone. It was Sunday afternoon, one of those quiet, overcast days where the sky feels low and heavy and the whole house moves in slow motion. Natalie had gone out again, running errands, she said. I stayed behind to help Lily with a school project, some poster board presentation on the solar system. We were at the dining table, cutting out planets and gluing glitter around Saturn's rings, and I was actually enjoying the quiet. Just me and her, surrounded by construction paper and markers and the soft ticking of the wall clock. At one point, Lily looked up at me and said, "Daddy, why was Mommy kissing a man in your room?" I stopped what I was doing. My scissors hung in midair, a circle of blue construction paper half cut. I looked at her and tried to keep my voice steady. "What do you mean?" She shrugged, like it was the most normal question in the world. I saw them last week. I came home from Ellie's early because my tummy hurt and Mommy didn't hear me come in. I went upstairs to tell her, and they were in your room. The man was sitting on the bed and she was kissing him. My stomach went cold. Not the panicked, lurching cold of suspicion. This was something deeper, heavier. A final, terrible stillness. I felt like the room had tilted, like the air had thickened and I was sinking into it. I didn't say anything for a long moment. I just looked at my daughter, this bright, innocent, wide-eyed little girl, and felt something inside me fracture. She wasn't lying. She wasn't confused. There was no hesitation in her voice, no dramatic flair or storytelling impulse. Just the plain, devastating truth, dropped like a pebble into still water. "Did Mommy see you?" I asked quietly. She shook her head. I went back downstairs. I didn't know if I was allowed to be home early. I nodded, reached across the table, and touched her hand. "Thank you for telling me," I said. And then I told her we were going to pause the project and go get ice cream. I needed to get out of that house. I needed to breathe somewhere that didn't have her perfume on the sheets and her lies in the walls. We sat in the car outside the ice cream shop, and while Lily ate slowly in the back seat, I stared out the windshield, trying to process what I now knew. It wasn't a question anymore. It wasn't a theory or a shadow. It was fact. My wife, who once kissed me goodnight every evening, who sat beside me at parent-teacher conferences and whispered jokes during movies, had been sleeping with someone else. In our home. In our bed. And the worst part? She let our daughter come home to that. Let her see that. I couldn't even wrap my mind around it. I felt something break loose inside me, not rage, not yet, but a deep, grinding awareness that the version of my life I'd been holding on to no longer existed. I didn't tell Natalie that I knew. Not right away. When she got home, I was calm, quiet, measured. I told her I had to step out for a bit, just a few hours, nothing urgent. She didn't ask questions. She just said, "Okay, drive safe," and went upstairs to fold laundry like she hadn't just detonated our life. But I knew exactly where I was going, and I knew what I was about to do. I told Lily I'd be gone for a few hours. I knelt beside her in the living room, her coloring book in her lap, and said, "I need to take care of something. I'll be back soon. Just hang tight, okay?" She nodded, and I kissed the top of her head. It felt like the last moment of calm before a storm I had no interest in dodging. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't say goodbye to Natalie. I just walked out the door, got into the car, and drove straight to someone I hadn't seen in over a year, but whose number I never deleted, Natalie's sister, Anna. Anna had always liked me. That much was clear from the beginning. Not in a sleazy way, just openly. She used to joke that Natalie had snatched me up first. And in the early years, it was funny. But there were glances that lingered, compliments that edged too close to personal, and a familiarity that never quite felt like normal in-law territory. We drifted after Lily was born. Anna had moved to another city, and Natalie said she was too much sometimes. But that door, I knew, was never fully closed. I showed up on her doorstep without warning. She opened it in sweats, hair up, startled to see me, but that surprise only lasted a beat. When she asked what I was doing there, I told her plainly, "I found out Natalie's been cheating. I thought you should know." Her face changed instantly, no shock, no denial. Just a bitter smile and a quiet, "Of course she has." That was all I needed to hear. What happened next wasn't planned. I won't pretend it was noble, but it felt inevitable. We talked for a long time. She poured wine. I didn't drink mine. We sat too close on her couch. And when she reached for my hand, I didn't stop her. It was selfish, deliberate, a release of everything I'd been choking down for months. Rage, hurt, confusion. All of it, burning through my veins, looking for somewhere to land. I left her place just after 10. No words were exchanged when I left. There didn't need to be. I knew what it was, and so did she. When I got home, Natalie was asleep on the couch. The baby monitor was humming on the end table. Her phone was face down, as usual. I didn't say a word. I walked past her into the bedroom, plugged in my laptop, and transferred the short video I'd taken, just enough to be clear, not crude. No faces. Just implication. Just truth. Then I wrote the note. "I know everything. Lily saw you. I didn't need proof, but I got it anyway. You chose your path. I've chosen mine. We're gone." I left the video cued on the screen, the note taped beside it, packed a few bags for me and Lily, grabbed her favorite blanket and books, and a few of her clothes. I moved like I'd been preparing for this without even knowing it. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel sorrow. I felt done. I carried Lily out quietly, buckled her into the car. She asked where we were going, and I said, somewhere better. She didn't ask anything else, just leaned against the seat and closed her eyes. By the time Natalie would read the note, we'd already be gone. It's been just over 6 weeks since I walked out of that house for the last time. Since I left Natalie a note and a video she'll never forget. Since I packed our daughter's things into 2 duffel bags and drove away without looking back. And the strange thing is, it's only now, in the quiet, that I realize how loud my old life had become. How much energy I spent pretending not to notice what I already knew. I didn't stay with friends. I didn't go to a hotel. I rented a small 2-bedroom townhouse on the other side of town, close enough to Lily's school but far enough that nothing looks familiar. I painted her room the exact shade of purple she picked out at the hardware store. I let her tape glow-in-the-dark stars to the ceiling, even though they're already starting to peel. I cook every night, even when I'm tired, and I do my best to be there for her. She doesn't talk about what she saw. I haven't pushed. I've just made it clear that this place, this new chapter, is ours. Natalie's tried to reach out. Dozens of texts. A couple emails. One voicemail I never listened to. They started off shocked, then angry, then pleading. The last one just said, "You're making this worse than it had to be. We should talk for Lily's sake." But Lily's doing fine. She laughs. She sleeps through the night. She holds my hand tighter when we walk through the grocery store, like she's holding on to something steady. And I think that's all she needs right now. As for me, I didn't expect to feel good. I didn't expect anything, really. But slowly, things are changing. I've started running again. I signed up for a local weekend league, soccer with guys my age who are just trying to sweat out the stress of the week. I've taken on a few extra projects at work, not to prove anything, but because I finally have the energy to care again. There's clarity in solitude. I didn't realize how much of myself I'd given away just trying to keep the marriage afloat. And then, there's Claire. She's Lily's new art teacher. I met her at the school pickup line the second week we moved. At first, it was just small talk, how Lily was adjusting, whether she liked the new classroom setup, but the conversation started to stretch. She has this calmness to her, like she listens to hear, not just to respond. She doesn't know everything about me yet. I haven't dumped the whole story into her lap, but she knows I'm a single dad. She knows I've been through something I'm still sorting out, and she hasn't flinched. Last Friday, we grabbed coffee after school. Lily sat beside us with a juice box and a sketch pad while Claire and I talked about nothing in particular. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was trying to hold anything together. I wasn't performing. I was just there. And that was enough. I don't know what this is yet. I'm not rushing into anything. I've learned how easily things can crack when they look perfect from the outside. But I also know what it feels like to be unseen in your own marriage. And I don't ever want to go back to that. Right now, I'm focused on Lily, on the quiet safety of our new home, on waking up each day knowing I'm no longer living beside someone who hid half their life from me. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm finally standing on solid ground. It's been 3 months now. Sometimes I still wake up disoriented, half expecting to hear Natalie moving around the kitchen or feel the old weight of something unsaid hanging between us in the dark. But that fades quickly. These days, the mornings are slow, simple. Lily pads into the kitchen still half asleep, her hair a mess, asking if we're out of cereal again. I pour the coffee. She eats at the counter. We talk about her science project or the school art show or whether we can get a dog soon. The conversation is easy. The air is light. The absence of pain doesn't feel like joy yet, but it does feel like breathing. I haven't spoken to Natalie since I left. I haven't needed to. She reached out a few more times in the weeks that followed, switching between guilt, shame, and attempts to justify what she did. But I never replied. Not because I wanted to punish her. Not because I was holding on to some grudge. I just knew nothing she said would give me back what she took. Trust, time, and the version of love I thought we had. And I'm okay with that. Lily's doing better than I expected. She's resilient, stronger than I realized. Sometimes I catch her watching me, quietly, like she's checking to see if I'm still steady. And I always meet her eyes. Always make sure she sees that I'm right here. I think she trusts that now. And if I'm being honest, I think she needed this change as much as I did. Maybe more. Claire and I still talk. Still take things slow. There's no rush. No need to define it. Some evenings she joins us for dinner, brings a dessert Lily loves, stays to help with homework. Other times, we just text or grab a quick coffee between school pickups. What I appreciate most is that she doesn't try to step in or fix anything. She just meets me where I am. And that's more than enough. I've learned a lot. About myself. About what it means to trust your instincts. About how easy it is to let comfort become complacency. And how damaging it can be when you let love go unchecked, thinking it'll stay simply because it once felt real. But I've also learned that peace doesn't come from forgiveness. It comes from clarity. From deciding who you are and what you'll no longer carry. I used to think the worst thing that could happen to me was losing the woman I built a life with. Now I see the truth. The worst thing would have been staying in that life, slowly losing myself. I chose better. For me. For Lily. And we're not just surviving. We're building something honest. Quiet. Real. This is the life I want. Not perfect. But finally, fully mine.